Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation. Hello everyone, Greg, Rucka, and I are back for the Mimi and Greg Show. Today we discuss the fairness doctrine and our frustration with big companies like Amazon, social media, white supremacy, the NRA, hate crimes, mass shootings, and police brutality. I am grateful for the privilege and honor of being a part of these conversations with Greg. Not everyone gets to have such frequent chats with their favorite writer. Beyond being a fan, Greg has become a dear friend whose opinion I value and company I truly enjoy. Naturally, I also picked his brain about my favorite comic book, Lazarus, and the Old Guard 2 movie, pending. For those that don't already know, Greg Rucka is a New York Times best-selling author of hundreds of comics and nearly 24 novels. He is also the writer for his Nebula-nominated film, The Old Guard, starring Charlize Theron. I'm loving these conversations and hope you are too. If you are, please rate my podcast on your platform of choice and share it with others. If you would like to support with a donation to help keep this podcast going, you can become a patron of the show by visiting my website or patreon.com/SifuMimiChan. For comments or suggestions, email me at sifumimichan@gmail.com or reach out on social media at sifumimichan. Now on with the show. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Mimi.
Oh my gosh, I miss you so much.
It has been a while. These have been very busy days for, I think, all of us.
Yes,
of course. And yet, if you were to ask me, what have you been doing? I would say,
That's the common thing, though, because it's like you get so caught up in the grind, and then at the end, you're like, what did I do today? What did I get done? And it just feels like the days are going.
It is still COVID time.
Yeah.
You know, it is still, what day is today? Today's Blur's Day, you know. But yeah, there's nothing quite like that frustration of going, I know I did a lot of stuff today. And as you're getting ready for bed, you cannot remember a thing you accomplished.
That means you did too much stuff.
Yeah, where you're like, I know I did a lot. I don't know what it was. So, yeah.
You're right. It's like run into a whole thing. And like between both of our schedules, it's been kind of insane to be able to catch up, which is totally cool. But it's always so good to see you. And it feels like it feels like, God, like you just said, we're still in COVID times, but then now we're expected to do all the things pre-COVID times at the same time of COVID times. And it's like extra, right? And so that's, I think, where it is. And of course, we're always forever battling here what COVID time means, because of course, our governor just
Florida, your governor is an insane Nazi.
Thank you for putting it so clearly. And
we are going to find social media companies. It's like, oh, let's see that work. Let's see. Wow, I'm impressed that your Republican legislature does not understand what freedom of speech actually is. So it's nice to know lawmakers don't understand the laws.
Oh, yeah. No. And it's like that whole thing about, Republicans never interfere with small business. We don't want to put, restrictions. And then he's basically like, if you're asking to show proof, you're going to get fined $5,000, you little small businesses who are just trying to operate things safely there in your place. But you can't tell people to wear masks, right? So
exactly. And also now, this is in Florida, but I suspect it's coming. Also, if you decide that you want to, allow for transgender restroom use.
Oh, right.
Right. You're going to be fined for that now too and shut down. I mean, yeah. These people can't go fast enough.
Mm-hmm. I know. And it's like all these things that people don't see keep slipping, not under the radar, but they're just happening. Like the voter suppression laws happened here, that went through. And this is us screaming and shouting at midterms. Hey, this is why it really sucked that we lost the Senate and the House in Florida, and even our Supreme Court here, everything changed. And the rules are frightful of what's coming to pass, and it's so frustrating.
The Justice Department, I mean, look, Yeah, I was reading New York Times. I think it was the New York Times, might have been Washington Post piece about, the Justice Department and the Democrats' uphill, battle to, defeat these voting restrictions. But at some point, and it's not far off, this is going to end up, in the courts. And if it's not going to end up in the courts, it's going to end up in Congress. But the very act of voter suppression, of keeping people from voting, is anti-democratic.
Mm-hmm.
So, at some point, one thinks that these people are going to be called out. Be like, well, which is it? It's you're all in favor of of people having the right to vote as long as they are voting for you.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, well, then we got a problem. But we all knew this wasn't going away, after Biden won. The best we got from Biden was a reprieve.
Yes.
And it's now going to be an even shorter reprieve than, we thought it was, the way it's going. But we think this problem is going to be solved. This battle is, this battle is the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It certainly feels that way.
And I don't actually have a whole lot of faith in the future of this country. I mean, I really don't. They're just, there are too many people who believe QAnon in positions of power. I mean, it's absurd. And, it goes on and on.
Yeah.
It goes on and on. And it can be so profoundly and deeply depressing. And I understand why a lot of people have now taken their eye off the ball, because it was like, God, I had to fucking look at this for 4 years.
Yeah.
I just wanted a week off. And it was like, well, you couldn't have that. You can't have that. So, we'll see. There's a whole lot that can still happen, and a whole lot can still change. Mm-hmm. And I'm not at this moment willing to make great predictions. I am still willing to work with hope in my heart.
You still have the hope. I love it. If Greg still has hope, then we all should still hold on to our hope, because
either that or I'm just,
I take your lead.
Either that or I'm just woefully naive. But I mean, what's the other option?
Yeah, right? No, because then we're all like depressed. And
it's not only that, but it's give up, right? I mean, the other option is, okay, I guess it's over. Mm-hmm. I guess it's done. And it's like, well, all right. If that's genuinely what you think.
Well, that's what, like, the message I've been trying to perpetuate is, it's like everything we do matters, even if it feels small, even if it's very incremental, and just like voting, right? No, my vote doesn't matter. And like, this petition doesn't matter. Even what is one signature? And I'm like, but if everyone stopped doing everything, like if we all just said, okay, forget it, and gave up, then nothing would get done. Right. And so there are things happening. Right. And so, you and I are talking off air, and obviously I have a new extra full-time job of activism now. Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
And basically I might actually see how this whole bill goes into law, like not just from Schoolhouse Rock, but I'm actually kind of working with House of Representative Anna Eskamani on writing a bill to include Asian American history in Florida, which is, oh man, but she believes in it enough to put it on her docket to say, yes, let's do this. And so now I'm running that petition, but it's like, if I didn't just say, well, it doesn't matter if I don't even try, it's never going to happen. But there's hope, like you said. And so I will continue to fight for that, because there is a possibility, and that would be something,
I'm reminded of something that Matt Fraction said, actually, in regard to the making of a comic book. And it is not a blanket statement. You can't apply it to everything in your life. But there are certain tasks where, as he put it, either It all matters or none of it does.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
There, and that is not to say you've got to carry that through every single thing. Like if you don't get to the grocery store at precisely the time that you said you were going to, that's not, but there are certain tasks that we apply ourselves to, and the little bits count. Every grain of salt that you are adding is seasoning. Every grain of sand increases the weight of it. Either it all matters or none of it does. Mm-hmm. And there are things, and this is, these are those things,
Yeah.
When we talk about issues of representation, and I don't mean that even, I don't even mean that in terms of narrow representation. I'm talking about in the broadest sense of the democratic ideal. Mm-hmm. There's, so I and but it goes back to the thing that we talk about so often, which is self-care. Yeah. You have to be able to withdraw a little bit every so often and get a good night's sleep.
Yes.
And have a nice meal with loved ones.
Right.
Watch a thing that will make you happy.
Learn
before
how to
you
say
go back.
No.
Exactly. Before you go back into the war.
Yes.
There was a reason that soldiers had to get R&R.
Yeah.
In theory. So,
It's true. It's true, though, because, we were talking, and of course, we are talking during AAPI month, but this will release after. But it has been insane. And Oscar, my husband's like, okay, you need to take a minute. You can't say yes to everything, because here I am trying to make sure I'm at every event. I am speaking at every event I'm asked to. I'm in every news, blah, blah, blah. And then I wanted your take on this, because my podcast last week that dropped was pretty much my rant on which I would have done with you had we were talking. But I was like, basically, my film is in the middle of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Like, my film is directed by an Asian American female about an Asian American icon, and they restricted it in pretty much at the start of AAPI month. And that means that they're not streaming it for Prime people anymore. Like, you can rent it still for now, but I think that axe is coming,
but
because it's not an Amazon. They cut it. Yeah. So it's not an Amazon Studios film. Obviously, it's an independent film. It's an indie film that did really well in film festivals, but I'm not like Marvel or, some big studio. And then I went to go start researching what was going on. And basically, you couldn't rate the film because that feature had been disabled. And I don't know since when. So all those statistics add up as to how the algorithm judges this, right? So it's completely rigged. It never gets recommended for stuff. But literally, when you go to the AAPI collection, and not just Amazon, pretty much all the streaming platforms, it is a very sad representation. There were some great films there, but then they just anything that maybe could hashtag Asia, not even about Asian American, they just threw it in there so they would have content, this is
and Crazy Rich Asians and the Joy Luck Club are not necessarily representative.
But at least there's Asian American actors, right? But literally, it's every film from China, every Korean drama, and I'm like, that's not an Asian American thing. You couldn't be more niche about it than what my film represents. The American dream. I'm trying to show the hope and inspiration for this country.
Did you email Angela?
I did not.
Email Angela.
Okay.
and literally just say, this is the situation. What do I do?
Yeah. Okay.
What is my recourse?
Take that advice.
Who do I reach out to?
Yeah, I will take that advice.
Because I don't know. Other than getting the word out and saying, oh, surprise, Amazon is behaving like shits.
Yes. But
stop the presses.
Me and everyone else, right? Feels that, right? And, we both follow Robert Reich, and it's just Amazon every day. And that's why I wanted to kind of get you on the, how are we feeling about Amazon? Because I just canceled all these subscriptions that I would get for a discount. And I had already started to kind of try to be more mindful, but man, and I know it doesn't matter. It does. This is what I mean. You feel
but it does. But again, it does matter, because for everyone that does, there's a reason, every voice counts. And the more voices together, the louder they are. And the louder they are, the more people have to notice.
Yeah. I was sad for the whole union thing that it went so far, but
and
Amazon
was fought against so desperately and is not, but there is, there's so much that has to be done. The antitrust stuff that needs to come to bear on Amazon, on Facebook, on Google, that has to come to bear at this point. I don't know. I don't know if we'll see it. And if we don't, then the only option we're ever going to have is simply saying no. But I feel, I kind of, sadly, Mimi, we seem to always come back to the same outrages. The problems haven't changed.
You and I together equals.
Well, but I don't actually think it's because that's all we've got.
Right.
It's simply because these are the demonstrative issues. These are the big problems right now. These are the things that have to be addressed.
Yeah. It's
wrong. And, again, there was somebody on the fan Discord posted a link to somebody on Twitter, of all things, talking about how data aggregation of information works to target ads. Mm-hmm. And talking about the fact that it has been absolutely debunked that social media companies are listening to you on your smartphones and not, because they don't need.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. And there you are, where you have been. Did you lose me?
I lost you where you said
we froze for a second.
We froze, yes. So don't need to listen to you because
because all the other data aggregation they're getting off of your devices are actually, it's more efficient and more accurate than listening to you. Mm-hmm. They know where you have been, and they can cross-reference that with who else you've been with.
Right.
And they know your age and your income and who the people you were with and what their ages and incomes were. And they know that, when Mimi went to the market, she bought a 6-pack of Fanta. So when Mimi talks to Greg over at Greg's house, they'll push an ad to Greg saying, maybe you ought to get a 6-pack of Fanta. Friends for your friend Mimi. That's all subliminal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a big soccer fan. Mm-hmm. There was the Europa League Cup final yesterday, what the Guardian football writers refer to as the Big Vase final.
Okay.
And it was a pretty flat game that ended in a penalty kick shootout. And it was Man United versus Villarreal. And there's a player on Manchester United, a guy named Marcus Rashford. I think he's 23. And he's an amazing young man. And he's a black man. He is a phenomenal footballer. He has been a socially active, outspoken. And I remember watching the penalty kick phase of this final with a friend of mine who's, also watching it. We're talking on Discord as we're watching it, and Rashford stepped up to take his penalty. And my first thought wasn't, I hope he makes it so United doesn't lose. My first thought is, I hope he makes it so he doesn't get the metric shit ton of racial abuse that will surely come his way if he misses. And he made it. and it was a fine penalty. He made it, and United ended up losing anyway. And lo and behold, this morning I'm reading The Guardian, and Rashford reports that he had received over 70 at the time of announcing this, over 70 separate racially motivated attacks to his social media. And the conversation then, I was, the podcast I was listening to this morning as I was walking Marlowe, was I'm like, what do we do about this? This is the ongoing problem. Do we just, do we have another boycott? Do we just stop using social media? And I'm walking with Marlowe, and Marlowe stops and looked at me because I say, yes, you stop using social media. You stop using it.
Yeah.
The only goddamn way to get these people to change is if you've got an iPhone, go into your settings and block all the targeted ads. Tell them you are opting out. Let Facebook have their hissy fit.
Mm-hmm.
Take away the thing that you gave them for free, because you're not getting anything worthwhile out of it in return.
Yep.
There is nothing, and if it comes down to it's convenient, it's like, you know what? You can afford the extra 5 to 10 minutes a day it takes to sign up for somebody's newsletter. Mm-hmm. Right? You want to find the thing on Amazon? Find it on Amazon and then go and order it from the manufacturer. Find the book you want and then go order it. Give them the ISBN, take the ISBN number to your local bookstore. How many of these things do you actually need tomorrow delivered to your home?
Right. No, you're 100%.
It is a choice. And this all goes to the same things. And there was a comment, like I said, I was listening to this podcast. There was a comment saying, look, going after the social media and racial, and abuse online, that's all well and good, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is systemic racism and so on. I don't think they are extricable. They are linked. They're absolutely linked. And if you permit the one to foster, no matter how innocuous you may think it is, mm-hmm. all you are doing is reinforcing the cycle in the institutions. It has to stop somewhere.
Right.
And it needs to stop at a basic level that says it is not right nor proper to speak to other human beings like this. Mm-hmm. You don't get to do it. And if you insist on doing it, you are shunned. And you should be shamed, and there should be penalties for it. They should be social penalties. And there may even be issues of legal penalties, because I have come, the older I get, to believe that freedom of speech is a privilege that most people do not deserve.
Yeah, no kidding. There's
a difference of freedom of the press.
Yeah.
Say freedom of speech. But to say that I have the right to say what I believe, no, actually, you don't. You don't. You do not. And I'll give you an example. Here's my example. If you think somebody has the right to walk up to a 3-year-old child and say, somebody needs to exterminate you because of the color of your skin or your religion, you don't have that right. You don't. Mm-hmm. You don't. And to defend somebody's right to do that, I believe is fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
There have to be some absolute lines. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems that I think we face right now is that social media accelerated the erosion of those absolutes, that the erosion that started with the destruction of the Fairness Doctrine, mm-hmm. and began with hate radio, that really began in earnest with the Rush Limbaughs and so on, yep. being able to say whatever they wanted without any consequence. we dropped off a cliff the second you could do that on Facebook or on Twitter. It is, and so, like I say, these things are not. You can't separate them.
Right? They're not.
You can't say racism online is not as bad as institutionalized racism. They are all the same thing.
Yeah. And they feed one another and feed off of one another, and they perpetuate. Yeah. So how do we get the fairness doctrine back?
You get a Senate and a House that will do it, and I don't see that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to get a court that agrees, that says no, you have to offer equal time. It doesn't matter. The issue of political will, first thing we got to do, get rid of Mitch McConnell somehow.
Yeah, man. That whole.
We don't want a commission into January. Why not? You worried about what they're going to say? I mean, literally, they threatened your lives, Mitch.
I know. 4 months later, suddenly, oh no, that thing didn't happen.
Yeah, I have to wonder. It's like you guys are really nervous about what that'll turn up. You're really nervous about who's going to be seen unlocking the doors and how.
Yes,
you're going to lose seats and
100%. This is not even conspiracy theory stuff. This is cover up, like for real. This is. I mean, literally, it was only 4 months ago, and they are just brushing it away like it's just never happened. And everybody who said we're against it at the time, and we're with you guys. No, this is too far. It's horrible.
And they are
disgusting.
And they are absolutely setting the stage for it to happen again.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Now, the flip side of that is that federal law enforcement working overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the other thing we're not hearing about. But I guarantee you, man, white supremacists are running for the hills right now. The FBI is coming after them hard. Yeah, and the thing about cowards and bullies is they flip.
Yeah.
like really fast.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Yeah. No, you want Eddie.
The other guy. Yeah, that wasn't me. I don't really believe in all of that. I just thought we were talking about freedom. I thought we were talking about our country, and it's so intentional as well. Like, even just although there's been systemic racism across all the BIPOC community, anybody who's basically not on the white supremacy, and that the intent of literally trying to pit all of us against one another, separate, you could just look at it and it's so obvious. But I hope you're right. I hope they are all captured and prosecuted. You said they're running. Sure. You didn't say they're going to get captured.
I'm not sure you're going to get all of anybody, but I guarantee you, I 100% guarantee you that, and this is one of the things that we don't, again, media doesn't cover it. And part of the reason media doesn't cover it is that the Bureau doesn't want it covered. They have been, and I have some firsthand knowledge of this. They're chasing this pretty actively right now.
Okay.
That was an immediate pivot. Trump out. One of the very first things that happened was we now need to deal with the number one threat to this country. And I'm not saying put your faith in that, because we know that law enforcement is riddled with this. And I certainly don't think the FBI gets a pass. But I think that the Bureau, by and large, has a higher standard of behavior in certain areas. And sure as hell, the Attorney General ain't going to say, no, we don't really want this. This ain't Bill Barr going, no, they're on our side. And as I said, I have some firsthand knowledge of this right now. So,
well, this is good to know.
It is aggressively being pursued.
Yeah. So. Well, I certainly hope it unfolds in a positive way. I did want to talk to you because, of course, I bothered you as soon as the Chauvin trial wrapped. I had to text you, and I knew you were busy, but I still couldn't help myself. But it was such a like a sigh, and it still has a long way to go. But that was something that I didn't have a lot of hope or faith in to go the right way. And I think it was historic. And okay, what does this mean now? Right? Does this mean change? Does this mean things are going to start?
Look,
or
I mean,
and then
do you want to be
there's
cynical?
more shootings, and then there's more.
Do you want to be cynical about it, or do you want to the cynical response is it's just one thing. It doesn't make it better. And then I go, well, then but you're back to the either everything matters or nothing does. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we all know there's a real long way to go. Mm-hmm. But just once saying, okay, I got him, is the next, means that the next time somebody's got to think about, am I going to be the next?
Yeah, exactly.
And if deterrence is the way you get people to, if the only way to get appropriate behavior out of somebody is through fear, if that's the way you got to lead them to it,
yeah.
If oh my God, if this goes wrong for me, I could end up in prison for the rest of my life. Not such a bad thing. Well, if I murder this person of color, I might go to prison for it. Really? If that's a new deterrent, notwithstanding the fact that it shouldn't be new,
right?
I'll accept it.
Exactly. We're already there, so we have to accept.
You know what I mean?
Something.
Yeah. So
we will take the something. Yeah. It was. Man, it was overwhelming, but it was funny. So many people were texting, and it just felt like a little moment. We had a moment, and I'm like, man, we have to take those moments though, because
and there have been a few little ones, and those are the ones we got to grab.
Exactly.
And they seated this grand jury in the Trump criminal proceeding.
My mom's always texting me.
Oh my God. It's like, look, they're serious. They're serious. Great. Let's keep it up. Mm-hmm. Keep it up. Let's bring that whole goddamn empire down. I know.
She loves sending me that stuff. Look, he's getting sued. Look, this is happening. I'm like, I want to know when it's happened.
Yeah, it must. I mean, I suppose it's even worse because I'm in Oregon, so the occasional drip drab of news about what's happening at Mar-a-Lago. You must be like inundated with it. Like Trump blew his nose today.
Yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't watch the news, whereas my mom has it on all the time, and I've talked to her about this.
Yeah, not healthy.
Not healthy. And I've talked to her about this, but it's an addiction, and they're addicted because that's what the news does. It addicts you, and it does it on purpose, right? They know what they're doing. It's like potato chips. They're addictive. Why? Because they it's purposeful, right? It's not unintentional. So
just the right amount of salt.
Yes, just that right amount, right? And it's like, God, so we've talked about it, and I know they can go without because we've taken them on little trips where we would go fishing for the weekend, and we'd get a little Airbnb. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, they don't have news here. So I don't allow them, and they can't do the technology thing, and so I'll let her watch her iPad with her Korean drama or something. But no, I'm like, I don't. In 3 days, I think we're going to be fine. Like we don't need it,
If you need to know, you'll hear.
Yes, exactly. So but it's so addictive, but you're right. I think maybe there is more of it, but I'm not in South Florida, kind of near all of that. So, but again, I don't really listen because my mental health can't handle too much news intake. I mean, Oscars does what you say, which is he gets his little Axios newsletter, and that way he's just reading like the little, what's the important thing for today, and it's bite size, and you don't hear the noise. It's hard. I mean, obviously we want to be informed, but oh God, it's exhaustive and depressing. Because even with the AAP, I hate stuff. I couldn't watch anymore. I couldn't see it. I'm like, I don't need to see elderly people being attacked and killed and abused. Like, I just don't need to see that. I never watched the George Floyd tape. Like, I couldn't watch that. I think it was Philando Castile was the last one I saw, and I had cried for like a week to where I realized I can't watch these things. I can't, it's too intense for me. I just don't want to see it.
Yeah. I stopped. The last piece of footage that I really, really looked at about something like that was, I think, back in 2000. Must have been 2000 because it was before 9/11.
Wow. Good for you.
No, it was watching.
I meant for stopping to watch, not watching anymore. I mean,
but it was for the same reasons. It was traumatic. I was doing research for a Queen and Country story.
Oh, was it a terrorist?
No, it was an execution. It was footage of the Taliban executing two women. In the I want to say in the football stadium in Kabul. For having the temerity to have gone outside. I mean, it was something like that, and it was just.
Is that and they did a lot of the beheadings on internet?
This was a shooting. This was a shooting.
Because I couldn't watch those.
Yeah, but like, I mean. These things stay with us, and I think for me, part of the need to not watch is not to not know. It is to, on some level, not ever want to become desensitized.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That the horror of it should not end.
Oh, just another shooting. Oh, just another killing.
Exactly.
Oh, just another. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are there because then you lose empathy. You lose compassion.
We absolutely are with regards to shootings in this country.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, 8 people murdered yesterday in San Jose, California. It's just another shooting.
Just another shooting. Yeah.
Just another shooting. It's just the cost of doing business. It's like, what business is that? I mean, tell me specifically, I'm curious, what business is this the cost of? It's not the cost of a free and open society. It is not the cost of mass transit in the Bay Area or the extended Bay Area. So what business is it? Would it be the firearms business? Would that be the cost of the firearms business? That makes some sense. I'll accept that's the cost of doing business. Okay, so now we maybe need to ask, how much business do we need to be doing? I am happy to entertain discussions that gun control is complicated. This is a great big country. If I live in Alaska, I may want and may need a means to, provide food for myself and my family and defend myself against a bear.
Right. A bear. Yes.
Bear attacks in downtown Portland, pretty rare. I don't hear a whole lot of stories coming out of Florida about I needed the gun to stop the crocodile.
Right. No. Definitely not. Because
alligator.
Alligator.
It would be alligator. Right.
Yeah. I knew what you meant.
But Yeah.
No, it's I don't understand the obsession with the gun thing, because the few people that I've heard, you can't, and it's not like they just have one, right? They have to have 50 guns. They have to get the chamber with, and then they need all the extras, and you can't take away my right for my semi-automatic and all that. I don't understand it, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's clear most of the shootings are murders or something horrible, and then like in the home there's accidents, like kids get shot all the time from playing with guns.
A gun has only one purpose.
Yeah,
I mean, it only has one purpose. Now, how that purpose is applied, sure, there are sometimes very legitimate needs to kill another living creature, right? Mm-hmm. But otherwise, there's only one reason to have a gun.
Yeah. I'm not following that clearly. Like the NRA filed bankruptcy, and then I heard that was sort of backfiring, but then it may work out for them. And I don't know what's going on with all of that. But
they're a
disaster.
They ain't in the clear yet either.
Yeah.
And if they keep it up, they're going to get labeled as a terrorist organization themselves, hopefully. So that would be lovely. Yeah. They didn't used to be like that.
No, I mean, they were supposed to be the regulators. Oh, right?
40 years ago.
It 40 years ago. It was we wanted it for.
Yeah. If you were good, they were all about responsible gun ownership.
Yeah, I'm with that too. I think people need training if they're going to own it. They need, I don't just let anyone have a sword. Yeah. And people come in all the time and ask, by the way.
Yeah, they want a sword.
When do I get to learn the sword? I'm like, after several years.
Yeah. Oh, you got to wait.
Yeah. You don't just get this, right? And so, but that's in my little world of where I control like having.
Well, and also where it says it requires discipline and focus and responsibility. Mm-hmm. And once you demonstrate all of these things, then we can talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to a gun, which only requires money.
Yes. And then the NRA has their own like TV channel, which perpetuates all this propaganda. And I'll see blurbs of it from like John Oliver or something. Mm-hmm. And you think it's a joke, like their spiels, their TV show, and you think it's a spoof, but it's real, and this is what everyone's watching, and they have millions of viewers, and I'm like, what? It's just insane. Yeah, super insane. So I am wearing my Lazarus shirt for a reason.
I see that.
I know that I am following the Discord now like a good fan, which actually is frustrating when I'm now following and I see, oh, if you reply to this, you could be in Lazarus next issue. And then I keep reading, too late, everybody after this. So sad, too bad for you. And I know it wasn't that he actually didn't write.
No,
that.
I mean,
that's how it felt.
Richard was very sweet, but I was surprised how quickly people were on that one.
It was like, so sweet, but I'm like, well, I only get to log into this maybe once a day. At the end of the day, I'm always going to be too late to the party. So, so I was a little sad about that, but I was like, and I know that there's been so many challenges, and our dear Michael, and we feel for him, and by no means are we upset or angry, but we're just all anxious, of course. So
August is your answer. August, and we are painfully aware that it has been. That will be about 10 months since the last issue.
And then I got
not
a lot
what
more.
We wanted.
I know, but I mean, nobody wanted this last 10 months either. In all honesty,
nobody wanted the last 18.
Yeah,
so 18,
I mean, like nobody. Yeah, that whole thing was a wash. Like whatever didn't get done, it's totally understandable. I mean, one of the great things that came out of the quarantine was that I got to talk to Greg Rucka every week.
Yeah, we had a nice weekly chat.
So. We did. That was amazing, and so I will never complain about that. But oh man, there was so many things. But I was going to say that what disturbed me as I continue to scroll and read was this. Oh, and Michael threw out the idea of taking a year off of Lazarus amidst this. And I was like, oh, that was
well, we would finish the arc We'd finish Fracture 2, which again would be an appropriate place to take a little break.
Yeah.
And he and I have discussed, whether he, if he needs the time or whatnot. I know, we're probably about 6 issues after issue 7. It's probably around Risen 13, 14 that we should be able to wrap everything up. And I would like us to actually be able to hit those dates cleanly. But that's talking about the equivalent of 2-3 years worth of work. So if that's what we're going to engage in, then making sure Michael is in a place where he can do it, never mind that I'm in a place where I can do it.
Yeah.
That matters.
Of course. And we know it's going to be great no matter what, but I was like,
I can really hope. I know that, it's a long time to ask people to wait. The book's going to be 10 years old in, I think, June 2023. So, we're 2 years off, and that's a long time for an artist to work on one project. So, we'll see. He and I are discussing it. We're not going to make a decision until Michael is actually well underway on issue 7.
Yeah.
We've got to finish the arc. Once the arc is finished, then we'll figure it out.
I know. But I was just telling you that it's always fun to kind of look and see what's happening. And then I'll see little tidbits from Greg and I'll go, oh no.
I particularly tickled when both Troutman and Richard post, the bits that they're working on and so on. Yes. Like Eric threw up a whole bunch of stuff that, again, people are never going to see in the comic because it's so small.
Yeah.
But the stuff that he builds for the post screens for issue 6, or I get an email from him saying, so I've got to put together Forever's post screen and her quarters. What's she reading this month? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, here's some thoughts. These are the books she would have.
I love it. What we should have a little Lazarus panel. We should have a chat. Yeah,
we could absolutely do that.
Yeah,
you get Richard and Eric on and have them, talk about just artifact building in the process.
Yeah, that would be fun. And I think I could put it out to the Discord, like, send me your questions. Yeah, because I love listener questions.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's so much fun. And of course, whenever people see Greg, they know like, okay, she's definitely going to talk about Lazarus because she's slightly obsessed with the Lazarus.
Well, you're consistent. I appreciate that.
She has a sword. I feel very connected with Forever.
I am with you. I love
it. We've talked so much in the past about how much I love it, but I know that you've been working on lots of other secret things, which I'm dying for you to share with me once that information is available.
There's been no official announcement about TOG 2, but there was the Wall Street Journal piece last week where Scott Stuber was quoted as saying that he had good scripts in hand for Extraction and the Old Guard sequels. And that's about all I can say on that. Scott Stuber has scripts in hand.
Okay.
And I can't say anything else because nothing official has been said.
Of course not.
Hopefully in the next 6 to 8 weeks, maybe we'll be able to say something more.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that.
and then I mean, look, there's a comic coming out. And I haven't got
to read the anthologies yet, but
I mean,
the scene is beautiful.
Yeah, Tales Through Time, the Old Guard anthology, second issue came out yesterday in the States, and really, really good stories by Eric Troutman and art by Mike Henderson, and then Kelly Sue DeConnick and Val DeLandro did the other story. And then issue 3 is, I believe, the Bendis Oming Takisoma story and the Mackenzie Walker Greenwood story. And the Mackenzie Walker Greenwood story is significant because their first issue of their series, Compass, has just gone to the printer. So I believe will be on sale in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Nice.
And I'm excited about that. There's been like one advanced review that I thought was very flattering to them.
Yes.
And I'm proud of Compass. I didn't write it.
Right.
I sort of executive produced it. Meaning that I read the scripts and told them everything I thought they did wrong and how to fix it. And then tried to get out of the way. But that's really it's Walker and Mackenzie and Justin, and then Daniela, Miwa is doing the colors, and Simon Boland is doing the lettering, and all of it, and Troutman again doing design, and then all of it really under the umbrella of Alejandro as sort of editor supreme. So I'm excited for that. I think they wrote something that I wish I could have written, but haven't, and I'm not sure could. I mean, and they go back and forth on this. There was a question: is it teen plus? I was like, it's kind of kids. Okay. And they're like, no, it's not. It's got like undead and murder and so on. And I'm like, how is that not kids?
I'm like, have you seen what kids are reading these days?
Well, no, seriously. I mean, how is that not kids? We all have this fantasy sort of, I say we all, I can't speak for everybody, but this idea that kids were somehow like safely in these bubbles of fiction until all of a sudden they hit adults. It's like, did you read Harry Potter?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
pretty dark.
People are dying in Harry Potter, kids. There are monsters. There's stuff going on. The kids are not afraid of being scared by fiction. And in point of fact, that's one of the places where they want to be afraid. Exactly. Scare me in fiction. It's safer than being scared in real life.
Absolutely. No, you're right. It's hard to tell like the age range thing because I, of course, am a huge YA novel reader. And sometimes I read it. I'm like, oh, I can't imagine my 15-year-old cousin reading this. It makes me a little uncomfortable. But I'm like, but this is what they're reading. Right.
But I mean, when I was, 11.
Well, you also
11, 12
advanced start at some pretty racy and intense.
Right. But I don't think that that's bad.
Right.
Right. I mean, there are people out there who do. There are people out there who say kids shouldn't know about sex or whatnot. And it's like, I'm not sure I agree. I mean, I think part of what growing up is learning about things, and the things you discover on your own tend to be the things that have the greatest resonance that you have to sort of unpack. And if you can do that in a safe environment, in an environment where parents aren't saying you shouldn't be reading that, but are instead saying, well, what did you think of that? Or do you have questions? Yeah. Jen was telling me, we're coming up on needing to wrap up, but I was going to say, Jen was telling me, I forget what brought us around to this. We were talking about this last week. She was talking about being in fifth grade. I think we were talking about bad teachers we had. Okay. And I think she said she was in fifth grade. She was reading Catch-22. And the homeroom teacher that had said you have to have a book for reading time was so incensed by her reading this that he sent her to the principal's office. Really? Yeah. She shouldn't be reading Catch-22 in fifth grade. And her parents, who were both public school teachers, and she got detention for reading things and so on. But she talks about her mom saying, like, they're all in the principal's office, and her mother saying to the teacher in question, what is the problem with this? And him saying she shouldn't be reading that book. And her mom saying, is your problem that, she doesn't understand it, or that she does? Because if she does understand it, what's the problem? And if she doesn't understand it, what's the problem? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no response to that. It was
Of
like,
course not.
I don't, because at the end of the day, my problem is you're reading a book I don't like you reading.
Exactly. I want to choose for you.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right, maybe 200% right. Like death and sex are two things children do need to learn about in a safe environment in which they can ask questions from someone that they know and trust, because they will find about those things and it will resonate for the rest of their lives. And it can be very dangerous, to be honest. So.
And if they're being denied those answers from, parents, they're going to end up with misinformation from peers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can find some truths in the fiction,
and at least have questions come up to where it'll make you ask questions.
I mean, I talk about Murder on the Yellow Brick Road, as saying like, oh my God, Toby had sex in a dentist's chair. And I was, in fifth grade or whatnot. But honest to God, at 51, that's not the thing I remember most about the book. The thing I remember most about the book is this detective in 1936, 38 Los Angeles meeting this little person named Gunther Werthmann, who's this Swiss, gentleman who had been cast as one of the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz all those years before, and who is described as having unfortunately having a little Hitler brush mustache. And that Gunther, and this was a big deal for me at 11. Like I say, the titillation of sex in a dentist chair notwithstanding, his relationship with Gunther's dignity, the friendship between these two men, that's the thing I remember at 51. I go, he introduced a relationship and a friendship and gave a character who in almost every way is being described by the world and even by Toby in the first person narrative when they first meet as a caricature, as this wonderfully realized, gentle, insightful, compassionate human being. And the lesson of inclusion and tolerance in that is one that I remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I carry forth from that book, not the plot. I remember Toby and Gunther. And I think when, we have talked about my love for Terry Pratchett. I think Morris and the Amazing Rodents. I always screw up the full title. You read that book as a children's book, and it is scary. It's got some really scary moments in it. That book, librarians fell all over themselves for trying to shove into the hands of kids because they understand.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the value.
Yeah. But all this to say, Compass, I think we settled on teen. I think we settled on teen for Compass. But so I was like,
we went on a tangent.
Yeah. Well, and look, see, I brought it all the way back around.
See, so. It's like
so there you go.
Expert. Anyway, so yes, we will talk again soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Because this is always
next
great.
Next week and the week after are difficult. The week after that. So that
sounds good to me.
3 weeks from today.
Perfect. That sounds great. As always, Greg, I love talking to you. And
it is great to talk.
At least I have Greg here next week to keep me company while you're busy.
You can give him a little cuddle.
I shall.
Give my best to Oscar.
Yes, likewise.
Tell your mom to ease up on the news.
I will. I'm going to tell her that.
And I hope your dad's doing well.
Thank you so much, Greg. All right. Lots of love to everybody.
Take care.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.